Welcome back, everyone. So we've got this cast iron engine shroud that's about ready to be, well, we're going to do some work to it. What I'm going to do, before I sand it, I'm going to use some of this Bondo glazing and spot putty in some of the really bad cratered areas. This stuff is, it's like Bondo, but it cures without any hardeners. So I believe the time for setting up on this is on the package here. So this requires, so this cannot be very thick like Bondo. This does not set like Bondo, so it is not Bondo. But application will normally dry in 20 to 25 minutes at 70 degrees. Thick applications are subject to cracking, so you want this to be good and thin. And this is kind of the perfect application for it. So what I'm going to do is put some on this little putty knife. We're going to just sort of fill in the cracks, or fill in the really bad areas. Yikes. I kind of went over all the areas that were deeply pitted, and that I know for a fact that my the primer just isn't going to hide. And it was extensive. The surface of this piece is like, ugh, yeah, real nasty. And I've just been kind of spreading it around with my fingers, just kind of get it in there. Well, that is a remarkable improvement over what it was. All the pockmarking is pretty much gone. There are still a few small spots where there's still a little bit left, and that's okay. When this dries, we're going to take some more glazing compound. We're going to fill in those little divots that are left, and then give it another sand, then another coat of primer. That's where jobs like this get really super tedious. It never ends. It really doesn't. On a side note, I have some what they call hardware cloth. That's this stuff here on order. This is 1/8 inch hardware cloth. And you can tell that by measuring the distance between the wires. They have 1/4 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1/8 inch. So what we need is some 1/8 inch galvanized hardware cloth. That's what they call this stuff. And it's used, it's actually used in the pest control industry to block off areas where pests and rodents might enter a dwelling or a building. What they'll do is they'll actually form it like sheet metal. And I've seen some pretty fugly repairs made with this stuff. I digress. So that part right there, we're going to duplicate that on a brand new piece of hardware cloth. So that'll be exciting. And that's going to get riveted in place. I'm going to actually use this as a template. I'm going to draw it out. And then we're going to put it in place and rivet it back. I'm not going to be riveting it the way it came apart. It uses 1/8 inch rivets that fit in these holes. And the original rivets were brass. They could have been galvanized steel, actually. No, I think they were galvanized. And they were put in from the back and then peened over on the front. Kind of look a little fugly. We're going to use pop rivets because that's what I have. I'm not going to spend a lot of money and time trying to find period correct rivets for this thing. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to do that. That'll be fun. And so we'll have this shroud looking pretty good. So we know the engine will run. It's going to go back together. We have almost all the parts except for an air cleaner. I have stuff on order. Yes, I can't put the mag plate back together until I get the new spark plug lead. So that'll come hopefully soon. That's what's holding me up on that. And the fuel tank is currently in the evaporust tank, getting its derustification. Oops, taken care of. And once that comes out of the tank, I'm going to wash it with hot water, hot soapy water, and then I'm going to let it dry, and we're going to get some, I got to get some oil or something sprayed inside the tank so that it doesn't flash rust, and then we'll get it repainted. Well, had a major setback, folks. This is going to cost me. I had it painted, and I was hanging it up on this hook here to finish doing some quick touch-ups in the back of it. And look at this. Fucking cracked it. I'm going to say fuck, so fuck you if you fucking hate it. I'm pissed. This is going to cost me a lot of money. What happened was the wire wasn't strong enough and it hit the floor, cracked it, ruined the beautiful paint job I did. I could weld this, but I don't know anybody with a welder right now that's able to do this, so now I gotta you know what, I'm gonna spend the money and buy the good one. There's a good one of these on eBay. The guy wants a fortune for it, but son of a bitch. The one that's for sale right now is in better shape. It doesn't have all the pitting, which, by the way, I worked it all out. It looked pretty good until I fucking dropped it. Son of a bitch. So close. So fucking close. This fucking pisses me off. The part's junk now. I don't want to put a cracked shroud on this engine. And welding it up, yeah, could be done, but only if I can't find another one. These don't grow on trees. These Model A shrouds are very hard to get. Well, the order's placed, so that little misadventure just cost me $100.45. And it was the only one left on Flywheel, so really, really pisses me off. This just needed another coat of paint, and that's all it needed. But maybe there's a silver lining here. So the one that I just ordered, turns out it has a better mesh or hardware cloth screen. So maybe I don't need to replace that after all, but I did just order a roll of the shit, so you know, that happened. But it doesn't appear to have the massive pitting that this one has. So it'll be a little bit easier to refinish. And since I wasted half a can of paint on this damn thing, let's see. This video is so demonetized. Son of a bitch! I got a bolt stuck in my shoe. No, I got a rivet stuck in my shoe. I'm gonna need more of this. So, fucking A. But you know what? These misadventures happen, you know, and just be glad that I guess I just have to be glad that I can get the part. The guy says it has no cracks on it, but, you know, we'll see how that looks. If it has any cracks at all, I'm going to send it back, and I'm going to be very pissed. Let's see how Mr. Fuel Tank is doing. So there's a problem with using evaporust, and that's once you've removed the rust and you've rotated the part in the solution, you know, to do another spot, it re-rusts. It's just it's just a cat and mouse game at this point. So I gotta find another way to do this. Yeah, it's still very rusty in there. So I gotta buy more. Yeah, that's what I gotta do. I think it's lost its potency. But what's happening here is I put it in, and then the top of the tank starts to flash rust over. It's like, stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Anyway. Yeah, I'm starting to lose my patience here. I don't have many patience. I don't have much patience as it is. And then when shit like this starts, I crack the flywheel cover. Alright, so we got the fuel tank pretty much ready to go. Now, a couple of things. So the inside of the tank isn't so pretty. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. So here's the situation I ran into. So evaporust is really the miracle cure that they say it is. But in order to do it the right way, you have to submerge the entire part completely. It cannot have any part of it exposed to the air, because if it does, let me describe this scenario here. So I have enough to submerge only half the tank at a time. So I would submerge half the tank in evapo-rust. The whole tank had rust on it, all around and on the inside. I submerge half the tank, it cleans up half the tank. I rotate the tank, the side that was cleaned and derusted is now beginning to flash rust all over again. And you just keep repeating the cycle until you're, until you're about ready to throw in the towel. So here's the deal. I went ahead and I actually hand sanded the exterior of the tank. I did the best I could on the inside with the evapor-rust, but I'm not pleased with the end result. I'm going to have to do this. So once I get the tank derusted. So here's what I've got to do. I'm going to have to fill the tank. I'm going to plug the bottom hole, the out. I'm going to plug this. And then I'm going to fill the tank with evapor-rust, fresh from the bottle evapor-rust, right to the rim. And we're going to let it do its thing. We're going to let it sit for as long as we need to. Then we're going to drain it out, wash the tank out completely, and then immediately coat the tank with some kind of an oil or something. I'm not really sure what else to do. The tank probably should be coated or lined, but I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. There is rust in there. You can see it in the camera. It's at the bottom. But I've already cleaned that rust off. It just came right back again once it hit the air. So it's a vicious cycle. Now, the paint that I used on this is different. I used a very, very unique product on this tank, and I'm not sure how it's going to hold up, but I had some, and I figured let's just use it while we have it, right? So what it is a product called Steal It. And it actually came with the house. It was in the house when I bought it. And I didn't really know, I've never seen this product before. And one day I was getting ready to repaint the front, the original handle for the front door, which is made of brass. And I wanted to paint it, but I wanted it to match the doorknob, which is brushed nickel. And I grabbed this can of Steal It, and I'm like, let's give it a try. And to be honest with you, it was one of the nicest finishes I'd ever seen from a can of paint before. It's just beautiful. Beautiful coat. Matches the brushed nickel doorknob almost exactly. And it's a very durable paint. And I figured, what the hell? Let's give the old fuel tank a little bit of Steal It and see what it does. So far, I'm actually pretty happy with it. I think it's going to look good. You can see it's got some pitting on it, but I'm not going to go nuts. I'm not going to lose my head trying to make this thing look perfect. Let's just not go down that road right now. But I do need to get this tank dried out, so I'm going to use a hair dryer. We're going to let the hair dryer do its thing. All right, one of my parts orders came in, and I think we can get some more work done. So, what are we going to do today? All right, one of my parts orders just arrived today, and it's a big one. Well, it's an important one. What we got today is the new spark plug lead, and that means we get to attach it to. We're going to attach the new spark plug lead to the horseshoe coil. So what we're going to do. So this is a reproduction Briggs and Stratton style spark plug lead, and it has this asphalt coated loom over top of a wrapped and appears to be lacquered silicone spark plug wire. So there's a modern silicone spark plug wire inside this this assembly. We're going to try to get it to the right length and maybe a little bit longer. So we're going to have to cut this down to about here. Yeah, right about there. Let's see if I can get the camera positioned a little better for you. I'm going to cut it right about there. That's going to give us a little extra. That's okay. Alright, So let me get that cut. So let's go ahead and make our cut here. And the original one, you can see that that insulator covered the entire lead all the way up to the conductor on the end here. So that's cool. All right. So we're gonna have to cut some of this back. Let me grab a fresh blade. Yeah, it's definitely asphalt coated. All right, let's get that in there. Now we can expose just enough conductor to make our soldering connection. Cut this down like so. And there's our conductor. So then we need to open up this little plastic wrap thing here. And looks like it's soldered directly to the coil here. You know, there's something about soldering on something this old that releases an odor that just can't be duplicated in any other way. But I want to point out to you the sorry shape that this wire is in. Look at this. This insulation, the gutta percha is, if that's what it is, or some other material. It's just gone. Just absolutely gone. Okay, the spark plug lead goes in through this hole right here, and it's a tight fit, but it'll fit. And we're gonna just get enough in there to make our connection. And if I recall, going to go in something like this. No, the pins go on the bottom, so the lead goes in through here, at the top. Fold it over. Cameraman, are you getting this? I love how they used a patterned outer weaving to kind of give it that look. That unmistakable antique look. People are going to comment on that, I'm sure, as I get this engine running and display it somewhere, maybe. Get it nice and hot. But anyone who's worked on an old radio, a television, anything automotive electronics from the from this time period, you know what I'm talking about. That smell is just. It's almost so bad that it's unbearable, but it definitely is unique. Okay, how did we do? Well, it's secure. Now, what I want to do is, I want to make sure I don't interrupt this wire or mess it up in any way. Oh yeah, this is just, yeah, that's just gone. Yeah, it's all burnt to crap anyway. Get rid of it. Alright. I think what I'm going to do is, what can I, maybe if I wrap that in electrical tape. This isn't a very hot part of the motor, so, but no, electrical tape doesn't handle heat very well. Let's just leave it alone. I think we'll be fine. Okay, I think I did this backwards. I think the lead actually has to go in through the bottom, so like that. So we'll just rotate that around. Okay. And then we're gonna, it sets into some pins. Like so. It sets in like that. And We need to get our points and condenser in place and our contact breaker. So this goes here. But first we need to get the new set of points installed. Okay. And then that gets threaded on like so. I'm going to put this on. And this had 2 screws with washers on them. Okay. Now, for those of you younger viewers who don't have much experience in the gasoline engine world, the truth is, this sort of thing was regular maintenance on basically any gasoline-powered motor. Whether it be a car engine or a lawnmower engine, it didn't really matter. The truth is, constantly adjusting, replacing, and rejuvenating the points and condenser of your gasoline engine was a required part of just regular maintenance. And that is the truth. All right, so when these are open, yeah, we can't really set the gap from where we're sitting. Okay, so this wire is not long enough to make this connection. And on the original one, it was soldered to the lead. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I am going to attach my condenser, but I'm going to lengthen this wire. I think we're gonna make it a little bit bigger. So. Okay, it's also important that you keep an eye on what's going on in this circle. We don't want this rubbing against the flywheel, and that's exactly what it's going to do. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. Alright. And we also need to, again, reconnect this lead here to there. But I don't like how that's, I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some shrink tubing, and I'm going to lengthen that wire just a wee bit. So let me go get some material for that. So I'm just going to use some wire that's left over from our spark plug lead. Twist it together. And solder it in place. There's my a little bit of solder here. Just going to twist it together. Just like that. And when completed, that will make the distance required. Then I'm going to sleeve it. I've got this white stuff that I bought. I don't use it for anything because, well, it's ugly. But where it's going, it doesn't need to be pretty. It'll never be seen. So, and you're an impatient fuck like me, you just do this. Again, white shrink tubing is ugly because it shows all the burn marks. Okay. Alright. Yeah. Now we can solder the wire in place where it belongs. Just like that. Okay. Yeah. Pretty simple stuff. All right. Now, all we have to do now, and I say all, this is actually a pretty big one, but we have to get these points in condenser, or the points. We have to get the points to line up correctly. Okay, we're now reaching almost the end stage of engine assembly, and I just want to thank you all for being there for me and you know, giving me some positive feedback on these videos. Even the negative feedback kind of helps sometimes. So I appreciate all that, but we are getting there. We are getting there. So we have 1, 2, we should have 3. We have 3 plate gaskets. What we have to do is find out what the end play limit is on the crankshaft. So how you do that is you basically start off with 1 gasket. We'll try this one here. And what we're going to do is put the flywheel plate in position, screw it down, and then we have to figure out what the end play is on the crankshaft. Before we do this, it's really important that we apply some oil. Okay, we need to add oil to the oiler. Let me do that real fast. I want to get that. I guess you probably should use engine assembly lube, but I don't think they had engine assembly lube in 1934 anyway, so this is what we're using. Alright, where's my cover? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the gasket that we're going to start with. We're just going to lie it in place. Okay. I'm going to apply some oil to the gasket and gasket sealing surfaces. Just drop my fuel bowl thing there. That would have pissed me the hell off. Get some oil in that. Let's get these out of here so we don't damage those. Sure that those fins line up correctly. Looks like the spark plug lead is a side exit. It goes out the side and probably up. The spark plug is going to be right about here. It's on the valve side, right? Yeah, it's on the valve side, so it's going to go right about there. You probably can't see that, yeah. So it comes out here. This little shield protects it. Okay. So I think what we have to do at this point is we need to secure the mag plate down, and I have the screws for that right here. So anyway, it looks as though they had taken the engine apart and hastily reassembled it with RTV, which I'm not too cool with that. There's a time and a place for RTV, you know, but this isn't one of them. Snowmobile motor. All right, we'll use the thicker of the 3 gaskets. That's pretty tight and very free turning too. Ooh. Okay, what we got to do now is measure what our, we have to measure the, because we haven't torqued this down yet, not all the way anyway. So we want to find out what the actual end play is supposed to be. So we have between 2 to 8 thousandths of clear, 8 thousandths of an inch is the specified end play. So I'm going to tighten these up just a wee bit more. And I'm going to grab my calipers. Okay, so you might be wondering why the end play of the shaft is important and why it has to be within spec. It's a good question. I'm glad you asked. If the end play is too tight and there's not enough clearance, Once the engine reaches operating temperature, the crankshaft and all, of course, metal expands when heated. What could end up happening is that crankshaft could expand beyond what it is now, and it could cause the motor to bind up. It could also cause permanent bearing damage and other damages. If it's too loose, you're going to end up with a crankshaft that floats too much, and it could cause excessive wear and all sorts of mumbo jumbo. So you want to make sure that we have the correct amount of clearance for the engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my $20 calipers. Make sure they're set 2 inches. And I'm going to measure. I'm going to see if we need a starting point. We're going to do, see how we're going to do this. Yeah, so that's going to do it. No, we got to get. Oh yeah, we need we need a reference point. There we go. We'll use this as a reference point. I'm going to measure. Okay, we're going to zero this out. Okay, we're going to pull the crank out all the way, or push it in all the way. All right, here we go. We've got to make sure that we use the same reference point for each measurement. Okay, 0, 0. Say between 2 to 8 thousandths. Aha! Dead on. We got 8 thousandths of an inch of end play. Let me just double check that. We're going to start over. Push it in. I'm going to use the shoulder of the crankshaft nose and that little seal race. Oops, let's try that again. Pull it out. 8 thousandths of an inch, baby. We are clear for landing. I guess the celebratory thing to do is to crank it together. What do you say? Okay. Yeah, we lost some torque. We definitely lost a little bit there. Okay. So what that means is we may have to shim this. We might have to put another one of those gaskets in. So let's just get our calipers back in. And we're going to just double check that. Is a measurable, is a quantifiable measurement. If it can be measured, it matters. Okay, here we go. 4 thousandths. We are dead on. So, okay. She's a tight little motor. Okay. Okay, I've installed the crank pulley on the back side just to give myself a handle to turn the crank. And I'm going to try my best to set these points given what I got. So, okay. So now I just need to get an air gap of 20 millimeters. I really don't like the fact that, just like the old points, oh, you know what? I think that's adjustable. So, alright, let's get this, I just realized that that bolt loosens up and we should be able to do our thing. Alright. This is going to let us reposition that leaf a little bit. It doesn't fully line up though. It just doesn't. And, well, without a lot of fiddling, I mean, it lines up in almost every direction except forward and back. It's got like an overbite, or an underbite. It's got an underbite, okay? So, good. It's got an underbite. I can live with it. Alright, so we have opening and closing of the... Now, it says we need an air gap of 20 thousandths of an inch. We're going to bring down the points just a wee bit. so that we can hopefully fit this wrench in there. Wrench, I mean this feeler gauge. Almost. Almost there. Yeah. That's gonna do her. Remember, as I said earlier, this was, at one time, in a not too distant past, this was normal maintenance for just about any small or large engine. Nowadays, you don't even have to replace the plug wires. You just replace the entire ignition coil every once in a while as they burn up. Okay, now do they close? They close. So, our points are set. This ignition system should do just fine. As of right now, we are so close to a running engine, it's not even funny. We're very close to having a running engine at this point. Okay, now, yeah, I can hear them closing now. So we should have, we're going to close this on itself like that. There is no reason why this engine shouldn't start. Okay. Oh. I got my flywheel on, or gonna put my flywheel on. Now, at this point, once I get this on, be able to check it for ignition. Spark, that is. Never use a real hammer when doing this. In fact, it's better to just not do that at all. Okay, starter cup. Starter cup. There it is. Now I clean this up real good, but you know, things happen. Now this is going to draw it on nice and evenly. That's all you got to do. I figured out where those two screws went. Alright, let's see if we got some spark. See if we can focus on that. Here we go. Yep. Yep. Good one too. Yep, you get it good and going. I can't crank it too much, but depending on where I hit it, we have spark. We definitely have spark. I can't. Yeah, see, you gotta get it rolling, but we have a healthy, strong spark out of this ignition system. So I did something right. Today's a pretty big day, actually. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna mount the fuel tank because we can. So here's my tank, and has a pitted side and it has a pretty side. We're gonna do pretty side out. I've got to remount the fuel separator, and to do that, it's threaded on, so I'm going to use some of this Megalock thread sealer. It actually states on the can that this stuff is rated for gasoline, so this will be the right stuff to use. It's a PTFE, I believe, based material, Teflon. We're going to put that thread seal on this threaded nipple here. Nipple. Anyway, we're going to put it on here.
that we don't have any leaks. Hopefully. I think my thread sealer has separated a little bit. I've had this can for 2 years at least. So, there we go. And we're going to thread our fuel separator on there. Now, we don't have what we need for the fuel bowl yet. Make sure that doesn't fall off. That would be devastating, you know, if this this glass, yeah, we don't want that to fall off. That would be absolutely terrifyingly bad. So what direction does it have to go in? This side out, so we've got to go. Okay, let me just. And this, actually, we're going to have to go a little bit more than that. So, we're going to give it just a little tweak. There we go. Right there. Okay. Now I got to get this nipple on there. Again, we're going to put some thread sealer on it. Making sure not to get it, you know, inside, because that would suck balls. Alright. I'm gonna mount that nipple on. I'm going to get a wrench. Probably a 1/2 inch maybe. Yep. That's a this or that's a that. Thing is, I don't really do a lot of mechanical work anymore. When I was a kid, that's all I ever did. And lawnmowers, bicycles, whatever. But these days, it's mostly paperwork and what have you. Okay, so let's get this nice and tight. Okay. Wipe off the excess thread seal. And we're going to put some... I should probably replace that nipple just for cosmetic reasons. It's got a lot of... well, you can clearly see that the hex nut side of it is worse for the wear. Remember, this engine's old, so a lot of people have had their hands in it, you know. Think about this. An engine... I mean, while it hasn't done anything in probably, oh, I don't know, 40 to 50 years, it's had a lot of hands in it. And some of them are more mechanically inclined than others. So, you know, you get what I'm saying. Alright, now we don't, let me show you this. We don't need to put thread sealer on this side, because it's not the threads that seal it, it's this brass bushing, or the brass bead. The compression fitting. So we don't need to waste our time. But I did anyway, because, you know, because why not? Alright, just gotta get this threaded on. So we can't put fuel in it yet, obviously, because we still need the seal for the bowl. Yeah, so we cannot put fuel in it yet. So these are going to slip around the tank. Yeah, make sure the tank has been positioned. See, because I can see where the bands were before, I can see where the tank was exactly. Not that it really matters, but that's, you know. Okay. I bent back these brackets here so that when I put just even a little bit of tension on those screws, they're going to do their job. Now the question of where those screws are, I think they're still in a packet. Are these them? Yeah, I think these are them. the 1.5 inch. Yep. I matched these up with the originals as best I could in terms of size. So I think I want to put a washer on these nuts. Let me see if I have one. Here's a fun fact. See this screwdriver here? Looks like a very innocent looking, just something you'd find in an old toolbox somewhere, right? Right? Would you believe this is my very first screwdriver? I forgot I had this. I've had this screwdriver since I was 6 years old. And we're going to use it on this engine. I forgot I had this thing. It kind of blows my mind, actually. I somehow managed to have never lost this screwdriver. I used to take apart so many of my toys with this thing. This seriously, this is kind of a mind trip. I remember how all this happened, actually. These little marks that got cut. The tip was always a little bit blunt on this thing. And it had a hole drilled through the top, and I vaguely remember doing that. Not sure why, but I did. We all do dumb things, right? Okay. Yep, I got the screwdriver in 1990. 1991, maybe? Yeah, before my sister was born. That's how long I've had this thing, 1991. So what happened was my dad, he saw that I had an interest in fixing things and learning how things worked and taking things apart. So he cobbled together some old tools he had out of his toolbox. And he was an auto mechanic. At this point, he was still working as an auto mechanic professionally, and he had some tools left over from because he used to replace them every so many years. Well, anyway, he put together a little red box, little red toolbox, little plastic one. And put together a whole bunch of tools. And I had some... Actually, he gave me my first socket set when I was 8. But he put together a whole bunch of old tools he had. A couple of various wrenches and screwdrivers and pliers and such. This was in that box. This is my first Phillips head screwdriver. Oh, man. This screwdriver and I we've caused so much damage to perfectly good things over the years. But no, I fixed a lot of things too. It wasn't all destructive. That came later. Anyway, these brackets in a little misshapen. There we go. Put that there. Just check the position of it. There we go. Okay, we have a fuel tank. Look at that. We'll try to clean up some of this stuff before it hardens. Here's our fuel bowl separator thing. We gotta get the seal for that before we really go nuts. Fuel tanks installed. Fuel lines polished. This thing is going to look nice. Ooh, did I scratch it? No, that's thread seal. I actually put oil in this engine last night before I went to bed. Put a little oil in it. So this way, when I do go to start it, I'm not going to forget to put fuel or... So as I'm editing this video, the one that I'm making now, the mail shows up. Look what we got. See if it fits. Now I based this on a 2-inch bowl size, so it should be pretty equivalent to what it requires, right? I'm just gonna drop the bowl down. this comes with a whole new screen, which is about the same size. Only this one's like plated in gold. Then you've got our new seal. So it kind of goes together like this. Now you should be able to service this assembly with the engine assembled, right? So let's tilt it back, make it a little easier. So this is gonna, ooh, get some thread sealer in there. Let's wipe that off. We don't want that getting dissolved into the fuel now, do we? I don't think so. Okay. Let's see about putting this guy together. So this is gonna go in like this. It should. Yeah, so that fits nicely. We're off to a good start, and it should fit pretty tightly around that post because you don't want fuel to go around it. The idea is so the fuel comes in through the middle into the bowl, and then because of gravity being what it is, the fuel is going to go out. This is going to go back up through the screen. So the screen acts as a fine filter. Fine in both senses of the word. It does a fine job, and it filters out fine particles. This little gasket goes up in there. And the bowl goes in over that. And we put it together. So at this point, we are really, really, really close to a running motor. I'm tempted to put fuel in the tank just to test it for leaks, but I'm not going to do that right now. Now I got a video to upload, but I thought you might appreciate throw that little tidbit into this video while I have the camera set up and everything. Oh man, we're so close. We've gone over this engine with a fine-tooth comb. There is one thing I did not do, and I'm probably going to regret it. Mark my words, I'm going to regret this. I did not check the ring end gap. I probably should have done that. That would have been a smart thing to do, but I didn't do that. So when we get this engine running, all of a sudden it warms up and it goes whee and it locks up and shit. We're going to know I was wrong. I should have done my due diligence, but I didn't do my due diligence. Let's hope I don't regret it. All right. I'm not going to forget to put oil in it.